everyone, it's Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a card. It's going to be a St. Patrick's Day card using some new products from the Stamps of Life. This is the Shamrock Foldit Die, so it actually makes a card shaped like a shamrock. So it would be an A2 size card in that shape. And then these dies are the Shamrock4Us dies. There's currently a stamp set that the Stamps of Life has had for a while now, but apparently there have been no dies for it, and they are just coming out with the dies. So here's what the stamp set looks like. So you have this larger shamrock, there's the pot, and there's a couple other shamrocks with some patterns, and then there's some St. Patrick's Day sentiments. I don't have the stamp set, I just have the dies. So my card today will be using just the dies and also incorporating this Shamrock Foldit die from the Stamps of Life. So I want to quickly just show you this die. This die has 3 pieces. You have your large piece, which is the piece that would make your A2 size shape card, or it would be used as your shadow layer if you're just putting the shamrock on a card base. And then you have these 2 dies. This is a fun pattern. It's a polka dot pattern. So if you wanted to have your shamrock to have polka dots, you can use that pattern. And if you're using that pattern, you would need to have both of these dies layered together to cut the pattern out and then put it on your shadow layer. If you did not want to use the pattern, you can just use this die cut some solid cardstock or pattern paper, and then put that on your shadow layer. So I am going to start with a piece of kiwi cardstock, and I'm just going to cut this down to size because what I want to do is put some adhesive on the back. So I'm going to take my Stamps of Life adhesive sheets, and I'm just going to set a piece of adhesive. I'm just going to actually put the cardstock down on the adhesive sheet just to cover that up. And then I'm just going to use my scissors and just trim around just so that I have just the one piece of cardstock running through my die cut machine. I don't want that extra adhesive running through. So this part, I'm just going to put that cover right back on, and I'll save this. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use to die cut my shamrock. So I'm going to layer down the dots as well as the outside piece and run this through my die cut machine. And I'm also going to take a piece of artichoke cardstock, so it's just a little bit darker green, and so I'm just putting some washi tape just to keep these dies together and making sure that they stay on the cardstock layer when I run it through my die cut machine. All right, so when that comes out of the die cut machine, I'm just going to remove the die. All right, so there's my shadow layer. And let's go ahead and remove this one. And there are my fun dots, okay? So before I adhere this to the darker layer, I'm going to put some ink on the edges just to add some dimension. So I'm going to use some of my Stamps of Life Kiwi ink, and I'm just going to ink up these edges. And I love inking up the edges just because it adds some added dimension to your die cut piece. So you can see all these fun dots. So remember, this has the double-sided adhesive on it. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this back. And as I peel back, most of those dots come with that adhesive backing. So I don't have to worry about trying to poke all of those holes out, which is very nice. So look at that. Only a few stayed behind. So just make sure that you get all of those out before you adhere that down to your shadow layer. So isn't that cute? I love that. So let's go ahead and put this down. So if you didn't want the dots, again, you can just take this die cut it out of solid cardstock or pattern paper, and then put that there. But I just wanted to show you what those fun dots look like. Next, I have the smaller shamrock die. I went ahead and die cut a piece of artichoke cardstock. And I want you to notice that these dies, they're the same with the exception that this part goes the opposite way. Now I wanted to layer these on top of each other, so in order to do that, I will just have to flip it over in order to layer it just like that. Now I'm going to cut this stem off of here because I don't want that on this layer. So I'm just going to come in with my little scissors and just trim that off. And then I'm going to take my artichoke ink and I'm going to ink up the edges. Remember, when you ink up the edges, make sure you're inking up the opposite side. So this is actually the back side. And that's just going to go right in the middle, just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue here on the what normally would be the front. And then I'm just going to line that up and press that down. So that just gives me another layer on that shamrock, and I think that looks really cute. Next, I'm using the Center Step card die set, and this is the largest die set in that set. And I die cut a piece of artichoke cardstock, and this is going to be like a stand-up card. There are some score lines, so I'm just going to fold my cardstock at the score lines. This is a much thicker cardstock than the others, so I will have to use my bone folder just to kind of get these pieces down. So I'm just going to smooth those out. So when this card is finished, it's going to stand up on the table just like that. Now this die set also comes with some layering pieces. So you have this die for the center, which I've already die cut out of some powdered sugar cardstock. So that's going to go right there in the center. And I have this die for the layering pieces on these sides. So I'm going to die cut this striped paper. And I'm going to add some washi tape on here because I want to make sure that when I run this through my die cut machine that these lines remain straight. So I'm going to die cut that twice, so once for each side. So now I'm going to start gluing everything on. So I'm going to start by gluing this large centerpiece. And then we'll add the sides. And in the Shamrock4Us dies, there is the little shamrock with some little fun dots, which gives you this little pattern. It actually doesn't cut the dots out, but it just kind of just almost makes like a little embossed look to that set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut off. I'm going to go ahead and cut off this stem. And I'm going to add some ink to the edges. This is the kiwi ink. And I'm going to add that right to the middle. And when I add it, I'm going to make sure that it's all the way even with the bottom of this darker green, the artichoke, just so that the other one does not show through the bottom. So that's going to be added right to the front of this card base. I love that layered look. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the back of this large shamrock. And add that right to the front. Now, I did put glue out on the edges, so I'm just going to wipe up some of that because obviously we don't want that to stick to the side. And then just press that down. That looks so pretty. I love those layers. So for the sentiment, I die cut this banner, and this is a banner from the Happy for Banners 2 stamp set. And there are several sentiments that you can stamp onto the banner. And one of them is the Let's Celebrate sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and ink that up with some black ink and stamp that down. And then I'm going to ink up the edges. I'm going to use some of the kiwi ink from the Stamps of Life and just add some ink to the edges of this. And that's going to go in this bottom right hand corner. So we'll go ahead and add some glue. And then I die cut two of the smaller shamrocks, one out of the kiwi cardstock and one out of the artichoke cardstock. And I'm just going to ink those up with their matching inks. And these will be layered onto the card. And then to finish this up, I'm just going to add an epoxy dot right to the center of the large shamrock. And that completes my card. So you can see how that stands up on a table. And there is my version of a St. Patty's Day card using the Shamrock dies as well as the Shamrock Foldit. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And thanks so much for watching. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.